There are 5 members in the painting group, and during our planning, we weren't exactly sure that we wanted to do it at first. First, we brainstormed separately and shared our ideas with each other along the way. Then we started to think about some similarities and interesting things about our ideas and had and pinpointed the ancient Egyptian civilization as one we would like to dive further into as well. All were kind of into snakes we saw popping up in the reliefs. The other civilizations we liked a lot was the Roman civilization, but that was because of the architecture, so we decided to create a modern take on a pyramid for our design to bring in Egyptian architecture ideas.
Once we decided on this idea, we went back to the problem and reread it and realized we needed to look at some modern artist approaches to relief. As well as that, when we found the paperwork using the textural works that Margaret and Drew created, and we knew we wanted to combine those ideas into our design as well. As we finalized all these thoughts and sketched out our designs, it was time for Miss McLean to return and to help us guide into a manageable way of creating this and the timeline which to do it, because our idea was pretty ambitious. We started first by recycling some old canvases used by creative artists in the past and building the sides of our structure so we would know the dimensions needed for our relief paintings moving forward. We just had them build the entire pyramid side structures first.
Once we had them built, we could each begin working on some smaller relief snakes that would get attached to the structure. We used model magic to create them and attach them by sculpting them onto our chipboard, and once they were dry, we painted them. We also used some modeling paste for texture to the edges and to seal the box-like things we created before attaching them to the structure, which we were simultaneously painting too, with a base coat of paint over these few weeks. Then we started creating some folds of our relief textures. Miss McElhaney was doing a relief paper project too with 4th graders at the time, so we used 3 folds that they were learning about to create our paper folds. The hat fold, the kite fold, and the samurai fold. There was a lot of indoor recess this time of year, and during free time, we filled buckets and buckets of these folds to help the other classmates get the thousands of folds finished quickly.
During creative arts class, we started gluing them and attaching them to first collages in very specific and thought out ways, and then as filler in cascading organic ways like we saw in Marjorie Amour's work. At this time, we also built the top of our pyramid-like structure. It was a lucky thing we had 5 people in our group, because we needed all of us to get all these jobs done. A lot of packaging tape, painting, and hot glue was used at this stage in the project. As we saw our piece come together and our timeline come to an end, we continued adding additional details where we felt needed to make it look finished. We created a second round of smaller snake reliefs. We incorporated some faces with headdresses using hieroglyphics seen a lot in ancient Egyptian work, and we created more quotes to put it all together. We worked really hard in the home stretch of the timeline to make it all look cohesive and finished using a limited palette of warm tones of brown and some gold. We think that it was very successful. It was super exciting to see the idea we had change and transform and come to life throughout these past few months. It was definitely not exactly the initial idea we had, but at the end it was something through the process and trial and error what we are proud of and happy we got to create together. We are loving the final creation.